Hello, curling fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Broom Brothers, the official podcast of the curling group and the Grand Slam of Curling. John Cullen here, and alongside me is my very strong, my very brave partner in podcasting, Robbie Doherty. Robbie, have you recovered from Tahoe yet?
I was just going to say today will mark 7 days, 1 full week since I arrived home. And I can say that I am just as exhausted as the day I got home. I don't know what it is. The old Atlantic time to Pacific time, that's a big stretch. So I knew it was coming, but I didn't think it would be this bad. And it's been gray and rainy and cold in Charlottetown. Not a big help. But anyways, So I'm still using it for an excuse quite consistently.
Good,
so for me, this is
well, you have
9
2
a.m.
kids too. I feel like that kind of comes along with the territory as well.
Yeah, that comes. I tried to explain it to them, but they just don't seem to understand.
Won't you guys leave me alone? I'm
Kids
still
these
jet
days.
lagged.
Kids these days, they don't know respect.
Yeah, no respect at all. Well, it was a great time in Lake Tahoe, and we will get to that. But first, I feel like we've got to start with the big news of the day, or I guess by the time this comes out, the big news of the week. But the U.S. Olympic trials concluded. They had a great week in Sioux Falls. 4 teams on the men's and women's side, double round robin, best of 3 final. And of course, the biggest news coming out of it, the ghost man, Danny Casper, getting the win, securing his spot in the Olympic qualifying event, dethroning John Shuster, who had been to 5 straight Olympics. Give me your thoughts on the ghost man, on Shuster, whatever you want. Tell me about the men's Olympic trials from your perspective, Robbie.
Well, this is certainly not meant to be a disrespectful comment to Team Shuster in the least, because I really, really like all 4 of those guys, close friends, especially with Matt. Like we're the same age, kind of hung around a lot together at the slam events over the years. But it was fun to see Casper win. Well, obviously it's the Olympics. I'm not going to sit here and say you can tell how much it meant to them, but they were truly taking in the moment, enjoying every second of it, but they also earned it. It was not like, Shuster went out there and just couldn't find the sweet spot, couldn't get in a groove. Casper just played really, really well throughout the game. Now, you'll be proud of me, John. I live in 1995.
I do.
For game 3, I actually found a stream. I don't know if I should admit that on public airways, but there's no way to watch
you're
it.
Fine. I don't think the cops are going to knock down your door for finding a stream of the U.S. final.
No, thank you. And it was only game 3, but it was like I was just getting so frustrated checking line scores the Friday and Saturday night. Then Sunday, I just threw out a Hail Mary message, and within 2 seconds later, there was a popular curling personality send me a link to watch. So I was pretty pumped about that. But what a great game. And you know what? Big props to USA Curling. Like, I thought the broadcast was cool. It had a big game feel. It was fun to watch. And I know the on-ice product kind of helped because it wasn't a blowout. It wasn't like someone get 3 or 4 in the first end and peel away sort of thing. It was a great game. And Casper, we've seen him play in so many Grand Slams now. I think 2-time Tier 2 champion. I called his finals this year in London against Korey. And you always knew the foundation was there for that team. You always knew they were going to be strong. Within a few years, they're going to be a real contender. I wasn't sure if this was going to be the year, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. And sure enough, I know this sounds as cheesy as it comes, but they looked like champions out there. They played like champions. They weren't caught up in the moment. They didn't come off as nervous. I'm sure they were, but they looked very, very calm, cool, and collected. Violet at third played outstanding. He's a wicked shooter. And Casper just kept it together between the ears, and that translated into making great shots. So big kudos to them. It was fun to watch. And of course, I know we'll talk about it more, but the post-game stuff as well, just the camaraderie, big tip of the cap to Team Shuster in defeat. Certainly putting on a big display, and in the right way. I mean that as a compliment to them. And it's really easy to get the face on and sook that you're not going to the Olympics. But you know what? The other team kind of won it fair and square, and they were pretty good to pass the baton. Your thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. We'll get to that in a sec. I do think that'll be worth talking about, definitely. But first to start with Danny, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I tweeted it that, they won it. Shuster didn't lose it. I thought Shuster played excellent. Was really impressed with Colin Huffman in particular. I think, no shade to Colin, but the knock on him, before he got on Shuster's team and could kind of ingratiate himself in that foursome was his shot making, right? The sweeping was never in question, but it was, he kind of needed to evolve his game a little bit. And clearly over the last 4 years, he has, he's really morphed into an elite second from all aspects of the game, from the sweeping to the shooting. He played super well. But yeah, I think that for Casper, I loved the way they played. I loved how they earned it. And like you said, the attitude was fantastic, and I thought it goes back to my interview with Danny on this show. And if you haven't listened to it now, is as good a time as any, now that he's going to be potentially the U.S. Olympic representative, has to come through that OQE. But yeah, his attitude was so good. I asked him about the Olympic trials, and I kind of said, where's your head at? You're a bit of a young guy. You're a bit of a dark horse. Do you think the pressure's kind of off of you because you're, 24 years old and, maybe you don't have to win? It's not potentially your last Olympic trials, whatever. And he said, yeah, I hate that attitude. I hate the attitude of like, I'm an underdog or I'm a dark horse. Like, I'm going to the trials expecting to win it. So, why would I think any different? Why would I think that, I could sneak under the radar here or whatever? And yeah, you just have to think that attitude filters down to the rest of the team. And I kind of said it going in, like, they were playing the best of the three teams. I mean, Bear was there as well, and they acquitted themselves very well, but they were always going to be a huge long shot to win. But of the three, the Shuster, Dropkin, and Casper, Danny was easily playing the best of the three going into the trials. And they were able to keep that going. And so, yeah, it's for people who are kind of surprised. I get it. John Shuster is a legend and deserving of all the plaudits. But, when you're running hot and you can bring that into the trials and play as well as they did, it was very impressive as a performance from top to bottom. And you had already kind of mentioned the post-game interview with Team Shuster. Talk a little bit about that and just kind of your thoughts on Team Shuster throughout the week and then at the end of it.
What I said to my wife the next morning, we were having coffee after the game, and that's my designated 5 minutes to talk about whatever I want, and she has to pretend to be interested. So that was my topic of choice. But
I'm sure she was happy to hear about curling and not like whatever happened on Raw this week,
or the new Power Rangers toys. Or, yeah. No. But what I was saying was, and I mean this fully as a compliment to USA Curling, but it almost felt like, and I'm sure we'll see this in Canada as well, but perhaps just a little bit more because of that sort of American sort of sports feel that they have at not just curling, but most of their sporting events, where it almost acted as more than a trials. It was almost like, for after the game, it almost became a pep rally for Team USA. It's like, we know our teams. We have Tabitha Peterson. We have Danny Casper going. There are two teams. Come on, America, rally around them. And it was like that interview kind of helped that dialogue kind of get started. Like, John was so gracious. Really, obviously he was crushed inside. There's no doubt. He's John Shuster. He's a super competitive athlete. He's played, at the top in America for so long. He won 5 trials. He was not probably expecting to lose, but he did. And after that, it was like the conversation instantly turned from, fair and square, it's over. Here's our guy, Danny Casper. Let's get behind him. And if you're watching this, you should do the same thing. And I thought that was pretty cool. But I also thought something like that can be such an asset for someone like Danny Casper, because let's be honest, like, this isn't like winning the US Nationals. It's not like winning the Brier in Canada where you go to the Worlds. The Olympics is a totally different beast. Eyes are on you from all over. And I know it's, there's hockey, curling, figure skating, a couple of big sports that in Canada, if you wear that maple leaf, it's massive, which it is. But in the US, when you wear that US logo on your back at the Olympics, everybody is watching. Everybody is tuning in, paying, not just watching, but paying attention and really following. And for a 24-year-old and Danny Casper, that's going to be a big challenge for him. Naturally, like a good challenge, one that every athlete dreams of taking on, but it's a lot of pressure. And I just kind of thought it was really cool to see the classic story, the wily veteran, the old line in National Geographic gets taken down by the new kind of head of the Pride. And it was a tap in the ass and say, go get him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'll say this, and I agree with you. I thought the broadcast was excellent. They did bring in Jason Knapp, who does the play-by-play, like, and will be doing it at the Olympics for NBC. They had Kevin Martin there, who will also be doing the analysis for NBC at the Olympics. I agree. It had a big broadcast feel, but I thought that interviewing John Shuster first was weird.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I didn't love it. I didn't love it for two reasons. Number one, it felt like they were making the story more about John, and John had lost. And the reality is that the story's about winners. It's not about losers. And I know that John has all the accolades and whatever, but I thought, fine if you want to interview John, but he should have gone second. Danny should have got the moment first. So I didn't love that decision. Also didn't love the, the sort of, hey, you just lost the worst game of your life. What do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen now for the next 4 years? Hey, just 5 minutes ago, you had your dreams crushed. But now what do you think about the next 4 years? I thought, and asking every individual member of Team Shuster what they're going to do next quad. Like, I don't know. It felt a little off to me. I didn't love that. And don't get me wrong. Team Shuster handled it unbelievably. The class they showed, I texted John that night and just said, as far as being gracious in defeat, I mean, that's a lesson for anyone in any sport. The way that the four of those guys handled that was incredible. Yep. And they deserve a moment. Like it wasn't like they shouldn't have talked to them. Like they deserve a moment for just the careers that all four of those guys have had. And if it is the last one, like they deserved that moment. But I just thought the timing was backwards and was a little bit wrong. And I will say, before we move on, and this is just because I heard people talk about this on Twitter and on the curling Discord and whatever. And this is no disrespect to John Shuster. I really, really hope for Danny Casper's sake, they do not bring any of those guys as the fifth, especially John. And I know, like, because what you're saying, he has all that experience. He's obviously an Olympic gold medalist. He's been to a bunch of Olympics. But number one, Richie Ruohonen deserves this as much as anybody. He's been grinding forever. He's never had the opportunity, and he's been playing. Like, we talked to Danny about his Guillain-Barré syndrome. He basically couldn't play last year. Richie covered for Danny this year in Sault Ste. Marie when Danny was at the PanCon. Pardon me, with John Shuster. And so, he's been with this group. He's their veteran. He means a lot to this group. And I think if you bring John, it's going to be 2010 all over again. When they brought Chris Plies, the young hotshot, to the Vancouver Olympics, John started to play bad. Everybody was like, why don't we get Plies in the mix? Why doesn't he start playing? And I think if you brought John to the OQE, they lose a couple games. The temptation will be there to get let's find a way to get the old wily vet in the lineup. And I just think it would put a lot of pressure on Danny. So I know that USA Curl will have the opportunity to name whoever they want as alternate. But yeah, I say this with love. It should not be John Shuster or any of the guys on that team, in my opinion.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. And going back to the interview comment, what you said is I had missed that part where I saw the interview, but I didn't see where it was in the order. And you got to think that a lot of that kind of, it just as an interviewer on the Canadian show, like I've been kind of lucky enough to sort of travel around and interview and just get to know these athletes pretty well, just from playing myself and working there for so long. And I would say that might be chalked up to a little bit of lack of experience at a curling event.
Yes.
Because I think in their mind, the story probably is, can Shuster win? He battled back to win game 2. But I agree with you. It totally should be Danny's moment first. I would just like to know what went into that decision-making, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then totally agree too. Like your dreams were just crushed. Like, you're not going to the Olympics. I know you worked your ass off for 4 years. What's the next 4 look like?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, tell you what the next 4 hours look like.
Yeah, you just went on this marathon and you collapsed at the finish line. Do you think you want to run the marathon again? You think you want to go back to the start and try it all over again? Yeah, definitely tough. Speaking of falling short,
Yeah.
We do have to talk about the sort of other member of this trifecta, the three teams that were, kind of even money favorites coming into this event. Korey, Dropkin, easily, not saying anything wrong here, not the event they would have wanted to have. Really wasn't their best week and hasn't been their best year, to be quite frank. Where do you see Team Dropkin going from here?
I don't know. I don't think you're going to see them all quit or anything like that, but I think you will see certainly some shakeups in the lineups south of the border. That's my opinion. I know nothing. I know zero gossip. I haven't talked to anyone about it, but I think you sort of have to. And when you had mentioned the conversation about the alternate going with Danny Casper, that was the team that jumped into my head, because there's 4 great players. Sure, they didn't have a great trials. We've seen them at 2 slams so far this year. They've been off and on of the slam circuit for a long time, and they've put the time in. They're really, really trying to push through to be that kind of number 1 U.S. team. In my opinion, even for the association, this is a chance. Like, Korey's already going, obviously.
Yeah.
In mixed doubles. But this is a chance to take one of those other younger players, give them that Olympic experience, and someone who can play any position, in my opinion. Like John Shuster, incredible shooter, amazing curler, but he's a skip.
Yeah.
So if someone else goes down, it might be trouble to kind of slide him into the lineup, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally.
But no, I think you're going to see some changes. I think you have to see some changes. I wouldn't be surprised too if you truly, after this Olympics, really start to see some players, not just in the US, but all over, really almost start to form that world of making a decision. Am I a 4-person curler or am I a mixed doubles curler? You might see some athletes do that. I just don't know who goes where. I think it's still too early to start really talking about that, to be honest. But I know there's a lot of talent on those 2 young teams in Casper and Dropkin. Like, when Dropkin, seems like they just haven't had the season that they were hoping for yet this year.
Totally.
But when they are firing on all cylinders, that's a very strong team with some good players.
Yeah.
But I do think there'll be changes.
I agree. And I think you're exactly right. I don't know anything either, but I think you hit the nail on the head. Korey is the exact guy that, if there was a guy who might just say, you know what, it's only mixed doubles for me.
Yeah,
he's the guy, I think. He's never really been able to break through. Obviously, he won the US Nationals last year, but then had a very poor World Championships. As you said, in and out of the slams. He's never quite been able to just sort of grasp it and stay like in the top 10. He's always kind of in that 12 to 20 range. And he's an amazing mixed doubles player. One of the best in the world. He's got a great partnership with Korey TC. And he's a Rock League captain. So I also think Rock League adds this interesting wrinkle, because I think for players who love curling and want to specialize in mixed doubles, it's hard to make a jam-packed mixed doubles schedule right now. You can play 4 to 6 events of, varying qualities, but there's not that like true sort of mixed doubles tour. Like, hey, I'm a mixed doubles player. I play 8 to 10 mixed doubles events a year. Like, there's no mixed doubles grand slams. There's no, they don't have that. So for someone like Korey, who we know is for sure going to be in Rock League, is there a situation where he goes, well, I can play 4 to 6 mixed doubles events a year. Then I can go captain Rock League 5 weeks a year, get my, money and my experience doing that. I think that'll be interesting to look at, because to me, the natural pair after this felt like Danny and Korey. That, John will win and he'll go to his 6th Olympics, and then Danny and Korey will team up. But now with what we've seen out of Danny, I do wonder if because I don't know. I have a hard time thinking that John and Korey will partner up, maybe, but yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens there. But I think, Korey is on that short list of guys that you could maybe see after this quad focusing on mixed doubles play. But anyway, we've been chatting about the men for a long time. We should switch over to the women. That one went a little more the way we expected. It was a pretty dominant performance from Tabitha Peterson, went undefeated through the US Olympic trials. She was, had 3 young teams to contend with, ended up facing Elizabeth Cousins in the final. But the Delaney Strauss was also there. Team Johnson was there as well. Allie Johnson and or Allery Johnson, sorry. And just kind of went the way. Sorry, they didn't go undefeated. They did lose 1 game. My apologies. But went 7-1 through the field. What do you make of? I'll just say this. I mean, we don't even really need to talk about the Olympic trials because it went the way it went. How do you like Tab's chances at the qualifying event? Because I think for the women, that field is real tough. You got Yoshimura from Japan. You got Roervik from Norway. Yildiz from Turkey. Like, there's a lot of good teams in that women's OQE. How do you like Tab's chances there?
I actually like her chances. I think Tab, just from being around the slams for so long, I think that herself, Tabitha Peterson, is one of the biggest unsung heroes. Sorry, no, that sounds a little extreme, but one of the most underrated shooters in the game. I always found that. She calls a good game, in my opinion. Sometimes the team as a unit doesn't quite get the execution that they need in big times, but it looked like they really got it together. And they've had an interesting year. There's been, was it 2 players on the team just giving birth on that team? Like, it kind of affected their schedule. And as a father of 2
sisters, Tara and Tab.
Yeah, exactly. And like, for those listening who don't have children yet, it's a lot. Like, it is a lot. And obviously they came through it. Everyone's good. Everyone's healthy. And their kind of minds are back, and seems like they're back in curling. They're well coached. There's no doubt about that. I think that team is going to be extremely, extremely tough to beat at Kelowna, because I think they're going to be ready to go. It's like, you can probably, it was kind of like Brett and Jocelyn in the mixed doubles last year for Canada. They won the trials, but then they had to go finish, I think it was top 6 at the Worlds. And it was just kind of like a sudden reset you could see in them, and they were determined. I think you're going to see that out of Peterson. And I do have them in my picks in the top 2 to get to the Olympics. I don't know if you feel free to agree, disagree. Yoshimura is there. Sorry,
it's tough. I mean, Yoshimura is the obvious favorite to me. They're the only team in the top 10. If you look at the world rankings right now, Sayaka Yoshimura is 10th. Tab Peterson is 19th. And then you've got to go quite a ways down to 33 before you get to Dilsat. And then Roervik is 45. So it's you would think that Japan is the favorite, but Yoshimura has struggled at world events, wasn't great at the World Women's last year, which is why Japan is here in this predicament. Norway has the best single result of any of these teams in this quad. They had a bronze at the 2023 World Women's, so we know they're a great team. Kristen Skoshlian, the fourth, great fourth rock thrower, really good mixed doubles player. Of course, we know her mostly through that, but it's just I just think, with there being no clear favorite, like, there's kind of 4 teams. And then even that German team, that young German team, they lost a World Junior final a couple of years ago. We know that Estonia, they're okay too. Like, it's just, I find when it's hard when there's not sort of clear favorites, when there's like 4 teams that you could see, or even 5 teams having a shot, you go like, it's hard. I agree that I think they're in the favor, like, them and Yoshimura are the favorites based on world ranking and just based on everything they've done. But it's really tough, and you got to peak twice too, right? Like, you got to peak for the US trials, and then a month later you got to try to peak again for the OQE, and then if you win that 6 weeks later, you got to try to peak for the Olympics. Like, it's a brutal way to do it, and I know that the US probably wasn't planning on having their teams in the OQE, obviously, but you almost wonder if they would look at where the trials are. Like, imagine Canada was in the OQE. You'd literally be going from the trials, like, getting on a plane and going to the OQE. Like, it's it is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy to think about. And you're right. I guarantee you this didn't enter their thoughts when they kind of set the schedule, whether it's 4 years ago or whatnot. But it is pretty wild to see teams like that having to play through to get into the Olympics. But it shows you how many good teams there are across the world, no matter where you are. And I'll tell you what, team Turkey, they're going to be dangerous too. Like they had Holman.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't want to say they had her beat, but they had her pretty damn close in the World Championships a couple times, I think.
Well, the last OQE was, Eve and Satsuki Fujisawa came through the OQE, and then that ended up being the Olympics final as well. And Dilsat beat both of them at the OQE and beat Korea also.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't beat anybody else, but beat the top 3 teams that were there. Like, and we've seen her play very well against Rachel Homan. She's had really tight games against her. So yeah, she is that sort of sneaky dark horse where you go like, okay, if she beats a couple of the top teams, and then actually manages to get wins over the lesser teams as well, like it's not hard to imagine that she kind of puts it together. So yeah, that OQE is going to be fascinating to watch. I think it's the same thing for Danny Casper, and I just wanted to have just a quick word on that because I've already seen people say, well, if Shuster had won, he would have got through the OQE no problem. But Danny, he has no international experience. He may not be able to make it through the OQE or whatever. And I'm just, here's the thing, okay? Number one, Danny is 8th in the world right now. He has wins over a bunch of the top teams, a bunch of the slam teams. He's not playing anybody at this OQE that he is not better than. To me, Danny's team is the best team going into the OQE. That's number one. Number two, if Danny somehow doesn't make it through the OQE, for me, you don't blame Danny. You blame the teams that put them in the OQE in the first place. And that'll be the talk. Oh, Danny couldn't handle it, and we knew it, and Shuster should have won because Shuster would have been able to handle it. No problem. He came through the OQE in 2014, and he'd be able to handle it again. And it's like, you know what? In an ideal world, Danny doesn't even have to be in the OQE. So if Danny loses the OQE, don't blame Danny. Blame the teams that put him there in the first place, and those are the 2 teams he beat to get the chance to go to the Olympics. So
yeah, I couldn't agree more. And these comments are probably coming from the same people who demand that that the curling at the Grand Slams are televised on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and wondering why it's not when it never has been. Oh, it's ridiculous. And like, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, I'm not saying like there's obviously a lot of pressure on them at the OQEs, but if they're talking about inexperience, Danny Casper just won the Olympic trials at 24 in like a 7,000-8,000 seat arena against the 5-time defending champion on national television on the USA Network and NBC Sports Peacock. Like, I think he's got a pretty good mental game. I don't think he's shaken too much. And I couldn't agree more. That team is fearless. They're good, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I do have picks on both sides. We don't have to talk about them, but the U.S. are on both.
Yeah. Okay. So U.S. are getting through both OQEs, and then who else?
China on the men's side.
Yep.
And Yoshimura from Japan on the women's side.
Okay. Well,
that's my picks.
Your predictions have been very solid this year so far. So we'll see how it plays out. The Olympic qualifying event coming up in Kelowna in the start of December. It's going to be fascinating to watch. Okay. Speaking of curling in America.
Yes.
The Grand Slam of Curling, the curling group just wrapped up our first ever slam south of the border. We were in Lake Tahoe, Nevada. And, I think we can talk a little bit about the slam results, but I think we'll talk more about Tahoe and the event in general, but we'll start with the winners and the finals. The finals were a duplicate of Nisku. It was Bruce Mowat and Matt Dunstone, Rachel Homan and Silvana Tirinzoni, and it was exactly how you would expect it to go. Based on how it went in Nisku, Bruce Mowat beating Matt Dunstone, Rachel Homan beating Silvana Tirinzoni. Your thoughts on the week that was on the ice?
Well, no surprises in the results. I think, the story to me on the Sunday on the men's and women's side is the best do what they do best, and that's find ways to win. They grinded through it. Rachel, I don't think scored a deuce till the 7th end, but managed to keep herself in the game. Pets came through a port in the final. I didn't think he'd get a rock through it and scored 2. And it's not just 2 on the board, but that can also shift momentum on your side when you make a big shot like that early in a big game. And but it was a great game. And then you saw Rachel finally take that deuce and 7 to go up 1, and then played a rock solid 8th end. Not the sharpest end from Tirinzoni, obviously, in that 8th end on the women's side. But at the same time, it's just you have to play 8th grade ends against Homan or you're not going to win. And that was the perfect demonstration of that in my opinion. What a confidence booster going in to the trials for Homan, winning her 3rd straight slam. But yeah, great event played by her. She lost one in the round robin, I believe, early on. Did she not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then just does what she does. She really bounced back, played Team Kong, I think, in the quarters.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch
them their welcome to the slams moment. Kong destroyed Korey Anderson in the tiebreaker, was probably feeling like, oh, wow, okay, our first slam, our first quarterfinal, we just beat one of the best teams in the world and Korey Anderson pretty handily to get here. And then, Rachel Homan gave her that reality check pretty quickly.
And then on the men's side, we all know what happened. It was Dunstone leading, had a shot for the win, tried to come off his own, didn't work, gave up the tying point. Or was it a steal?
No, it was 2 points.
It was
Bruce
2 points,
needed 2. So if Matt had made the double off his own, he would have gotten rid of the Bruce wouldn't have had any shot for 2.
Yeah, exactly. And then Bruce, so anyway, he got his 2 to send it to the extra. I was standing beside the sheet, behind the Jumbotron, so I did not see the measure. I saw it like from the side, but I couldn't see above, and I didn't have any like television screen view of the measurement. But there was some controversy in it, at least online. People saying, it is what it is, but literally coming down to 3 millimeters. That's close.
I'm not a genius, but
no, and
it was pretty incredible. I know that there are some critics of the shootout, and I understand that it is a change, and I think for Matt Dunstone, especially if it goes to an extra end and he has hammer, he's going to feel pretty good about his chances to win, as opposed to a shootout, which is a little closer to a 50-50 proposition. Yep. So I get that. And I know not everybody loves it, but again, having been in the building for the Rachel Homan, Anna Hasselborg semifinal shootout in Nisku, and then in the building in Lake Tahoe, it's as dramatic as it gets in curling. The tension is ratcheted up. You can feel a pin drop in the building. And so, I don't know if it's the right solution moving forward. I know, like I said, I know not all the players like it. I know not all the fans like it, but as far as just like a singular moment in the building, it's unrivaled, in my opinion.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. And now we're also talking as play-by-play people. So
exactly.
Maybe we have a bit of a bias.
Yes.
But at the same time, you're right. It's one of those classic moments in sports, and people say, it's like a shootout in hockey. Well, it is, but it's almost kind of like, a shootout when both teams scored the first goal. The first 2 goals, and it comes down to the 3rd shot. To me, it's almost more sudden death because it's just 1 each. Yeah. And coming down to 3 millimeters just shows you how precise and how good these guys are. And I didn't see the measure. I saw Dunstone's team leave the ice. They obviously weren't too thrilled. Figured it wasn't the best time to ask them their opinion.
Hey, how'd you guys like that out there?
But you know what? For them, I think too, like they're all smart people. They've been around this game, and like their focus right now is the trials.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll make them a little more hungry come the trials.
Yeah, totally.
If you can try to find the silver lining in anything, but that team is playing very well.
They are playing very well. We're going to talk about the Canadian Olympic trials to wrap this up in a second, but give me, I agree with, I don't really have anything to add from the on ice thing other than Rachel went undefeated in Tahoe. We don't want any angry emails from anyone. I believe she lost a game in Nisku. It's hard to know with Rachel.
Yes.
Like her losing one game is an event. It's hard to remember exactly when it happens. But yes. So I do want to just ask you about Tahoe in general, your sort of impressions of the place, of how the slam went. Because I have some thoughts, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's easy to jump in and say the stands were empty, blah 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 blah, and be negative about it. But what I love, I haven't spent a lot of time in the U.S. I've played in a few events in Minnesota and that area myself. I went to Hollywood for their summer spiel,
Yep.
Continental Cup in Vegas, but always kind of working sort of thing. What I love about the U.S. is, sure, there's not nearly as many fans as there is in Canada, and they don't pile into arenas. But that's never going to happen if you don't start somewhere. You had to have the first event, in my opinion. You have to build it. And it's not like, the curling group delivered a slam light just to try it, like an exhibit. It was a full slam. And the other thing, what I was kind of getting at with when I said that I've been to the US a few times, I find the curling fans in the US are extremely passionate. Mm-hmm. They truly love it. They're so into it. They know the round robin records of all the teams. They know the lineups. They want to meet them. They're very, very, very engaged. So although the place wasn't sold out to the rafters, the ones that were there were extremely passionate, extremely appreciative. The volunteers, same thing. It truly meant a lot to them, as it should. It's the first time, in that region that a Grand Slam event has ever been there. But, props to them. It was an outstanding event, in my opinion. Everything was super well organized. A beautiful place in the world. I think once I start to see a couple more zeros on my paychecks, I'd like to go back sometime and really take it in. But man, oh man, it was a stunning place to go. And I would love to see curling get big in that area and maybe someday be able to go back. Yeah. Not the funnest place to travel to from Atlantic, Canada, though.
I can imagine. Yeah. You had quite a travel day on the way back. I saw that. But I was just going to echo a little bit of what you said. I think I want to talk my shit a little bit because it's hard. We are obviously biased. We do work for the curling group. And so that enters into any of these discussions, but there were just so many people who were so quick to judge this event and judge it based on one metric, which was attendance. And I just think that there's so much more that goes into it than just attendance. And to say, well, this event failed because of this one metric is so short-sighted and ludicrous to me. And it just drove me nuts to see that because, first of all, agree with you. Like there was probably 500 fans at each of the finals. They were as loud as 1,000 fans. Yep. Also, this arena was the biggest arena we've played in all year. Seats 5,000 people. So if we were in Nisku or London, where the capacity is closer to like 1,500, then people wouldn't have even been talking about it. They would have been like, wow, the attendance was actually pretty good. But because we were in this big arena, it looked emptier than it was. But like you said, the fans were passionate. They were into it. They were making noise. They were having a great time. So that was awesome for them. But it's also like people don't understand, okay, you have to bid on the slams. And I talked about this when I did the Twitch stream with Langer, but it feels like people don't get that part of it. It's like, well, why didn't you just have it in Minnesota? Why didn't you have it in Wisconsin? Why didn't you have it somewhere where there's curling fans? We don't control that. You have to bid on the slams. So Lake Tahoe put in a very attractive bid. It's a beautiful place in the world. Why is it the week before the Olympic trials? Because that's when they bid on it for. That's when the arena was available. There's lots of factors that go into it. So I think a lot of people don't understand that. We don't pick where we go. It's if you live in a city and you want a slam to come there, go for it. Become the head of the committee. Figure out how to make it happen. Send a bid package to the slams. You can literally go to the grandslamofcurling.com right now and bid on a slam if you want to. Okay, so that's that part of it. I think people get confused about exactly what goes on behind the scenes. Second of all, love what you said. It's got to start somewhere. Did you think we were going to go anywhere in the U.S. and sell out a building? That was not going to happen. Sioux Falls just had the marquee U.S. curling event. Was that sold out? No, it wasn't. And everybody is not talking about that. They're talking about the story that was Danny Casper. So again, no one's saying, oh, it wasn't full in Sioux Falls. That ruined the event. No, it didn't. you have to start somewhere. You got to put a footprint down somewhere, and you have to prove to yourself you can do it. There were lots of logistical challenges for us going to America. So to do it and to know we can do it now opens the door for other events. And then the last one, and I just saw this a bunch, and it was literally, why was this not in Minnesota? That was I couldn't have heard that more. Why was this in Lake Tahoe? Why wasn't it in Minnesota? Well, guess what? The Pan Continental was in Minnesota the week before our slam. So if we had gone to Minnesota, all of you people who said, why didn't you go to Minnesota, would have said, why the hell did you go to Minnesota? The Pan Con was there last week. So we can't please everybody, but I think as far as like proving we could do it, going to a beautiful place the curlers loved to go, the fans who traveled there loved the experience.
Like wildlife.
Yeah, the wildlife. Yeah, a bunch of people saw the bears that were just roaming around town. But yeah, again, I know that I am biased and I understand. I'm not saying criticisms are unfair. Of course, any criticism, well, not any criticism, but a lot of criticism is fair, and you're more than entitled to have your opinion. I just think that there are some key components about this that people were missing, and I felt like it was important to kind of talk about exactly what this event means, not just to the slams, but to curling in general. And I think on just about every front, it was a success. And I hate the people who are saying, well, the attendance was low, and so it's automatically a failure.
Oh, absolutely. And just pointing the finger without any solution or any strategy or anything. Like, how dare, Nick Sulsky and his friends ruining the game. Bullshit. They took it to a new country for the first time. Like, that in itself is such a win. I know it's just so short-sighted not to see that. It's like the Jared Allen discussion.
Yeah.
It's insane to me. Like, how do you not get that? How do you not pick up on the fact that we're here? We're in United. How long have we been talking about it? When are the slams going to go international? Well, we did it.
But you didn't do it the way I wanted you to do it.
Yeah, you would have sold out Target Field if it was in Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Don't get me wrong. Minnesota would be a kick-ass place too.
Absolutely. And I think we will go to Minnesota. It's like, that's the other thing. It's like, well, you went to Tahoe, didn't work. Guess you're screwed and you're never going back.
Guys.
Anyway, I just I
like the rant, John. I
thank you. I've had a week. And I got into it on Reddit. I made a big mistake. I got into it with people on Reddit, and so then that got me additionally fired up. But no, I think it's just important to say, I think to educate people. I think there are a lot of people who think that because it wasn't full, that it's a failure, and I just think they're so wrong. And I think there's luckily I have a microphone with which I can speak into and tell them how wrong they are. So,
but also, John, there's so many people who just think you write a catchy jingle, you put it on a commercial that sells weak packages for a curling tournament starting at blank, and it's going to sell out like it did 30 years ago. And I can tell you that this generation, they're not doing anything for a week, and it has to be in a cool place. It's a different world we live in now with so many different travel options. Like, drives me nuts.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a great time. Curlers had a great time. We had a great time. And speaking of great times, the marquee event on the curling calendar for any Canadian curling fan, but I think just curling fans in general, the Canadian Olympic trials start this weekend in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And Robbie, we will start with the women, because really the story of the women's trials is a very basic one, and that is, can anyone beat Rachel Homan?
Right now, I don't think so. Right off the bat, if they go out and they play their game in the way that they've just been playing for the last 2 or 3 years, it's going to take a team to really step out, bring it up a level, if they want to think about beating that team, not just in a final, but in a best 2 out of 3 scenario. This team is just so rock solid in every dimension, like draws, hits, it doesn't matter, strategy, sweeping, everything. They are just literally the complete package. They're so mentally tough. They're so physically strong. I just don't see a world right now where someone beats them. I know that. Sorry, I was trying to think of a creative way to say that, but it's just extremely tough. Can it be done? Obviously. But, looking at the rest of the field, there's some great teams in there, but I think they are going to have to elevate their game to a level that we haven't seen from, I don't think, any of them, in this quad, if that makes sense. And that's not a knock to them. It's just a compliment to Rachel to just say how strong they've been, how dominant they've been, not only in the Canadian championships, but across the world at the Grand Slams. They've won all 3 so far. Like, we know the win-loss records of the past 2 seasons. I'm not saying it's impossible. Obviously, it's sports. The game is played on the ice, but it's an opportunity for the other teams in the field to ask themselves who's going to step up, because somebody has to step up. They have to level up to make a game of it. Korey, Anderson is obviously, the second ranked team in Canada, if you will, or known as the second best team, but they haven't been playing very solid this year. It's evident, a lot of even questioning back and forth in terms of strategy, things like that. And, the trials is here. It's time to kind of make a run for it. I know I'm trying to think of ways to explain it, but it's just truly, in my mind, it's Homan's to lose.
Yeah, I think the main issue that I see, and you've kind of touched on it with Korey, but I think it's true of all the other teams as well. And I hate to say this because I love them all. And I'm close friends with a lot of the women's teams in Canada. None of them are playing well, literally none of them. And Rachel's playing unbelievable. So I just like Korey Anderson is 14th year to date, and most of her points came from 1 win in Edmonton. She's missed the Slam playoffs 2 of the 3, lost the quarterfinals in the other one. Of the top 5 Canadian teams year to date, 2 of them aren't even in the trials. Serena Gray Withers and Taylor Reese Hansen are 2 of the top 5 Canadian teams year to date. Caitlin Laws, so Anderson is 14, Gray Withers is 16, Laws is 20, Reese Hansen is 21. And then you have obviously Rachel is 1 and Korey is 14. And then you get into a pack. Corinne Brown is 23, Kate Cameron is 26. And then you gotta get going down the list. Selena Sturmey is 31 on the year to date. Kayla Skurlik is 52 and Christina Black is 56.
Wow.
So it's just like, I think we thought we saw the Scotties last year. Christina Black had a great run. Korey Anderson played really well, even played well in that Scotties final. The wheels kind of fell off in the second half, but played well in the Scotties. And we thought, okay, Rachel is really good, but if a team gets hot at the trials, they could dethrone Rachel. And I just think no one is playing well going into the trials. Doesn't mean a team can't get hot, because of course they can. But we just saw what happened with Korey Dropkin. These teams that you kind of do need, you need a little bit of juice going into the trials to really have a shot. And especially when you're talking about maybe the best women's curling team of all time that you have to beat 2 out of 3 times in a final. I just wish there was more of a story. I wish these teams were playing great and we could see a world where Rachel loses, but it's just, I don't know how Rachel is not like an absolutely overwhelming favorite to win this. And I wish it was different, but.
No, I completely agree. And we're not trying to bore our listeners, because it'll be a different chat on the men's side.
Yeah.
But the other thing, you talked about getting hot, and this is, I'm not trying to say this is my official prediction, but Halifax is an unusual spot. I live 3 hours from there. One of my favorite places in the world. But I'm telling you, like in Atlantic Canada, we're known as kind of the party hub of the nation in a lot of ways. And St. John's gets a lot of attention, and rightfully so. St. John's an incredible city and a fun place to party. But Halifax kicks ass. Their bars, everything's open until 3:34 in the morning. It's a vibe. The place has a natural vibe. That arena is going to be sold out. It's going to be extremely loud. And if Christina Black can win a couple games early and really start to kind of keep her name at the top, get herself in a lot of those local media conversations, and the fans get behind her, I'm telling you, it's a different kind of cheer. There's nothing we love more than our own here in Atlantic, Canada. And there's going to be a lot of Team Black fans. Now, I know where she is in the standings. I'm not trying to come out and say she's this magic, favorite to come second and or maybe knock Rachel off, but I'm saying that's a scrappy team. They're pretty good and they're fearless. And if you get that wild Halifax crowd behind them, interesting things could happen. And we saw that at the trials last time in Halifax.
And truly, and they are also coming off of a win. So the rankings actually haven't been updated with their win yesterday. As we record this, they won the Stu Cells Halifax Classic. Again, not like a stacked field, but they do have a bit of momentum going in, and that win will probably bring them up into, I would say, the top 40 in the curling rankings. So yeah, I agree. They do have that going for them. They are the home team, but really the story is Rachel Homan. And to be quite frank, Curling Canada wants Rachel Homan to win too, because she has a great chance to bring home that gold medal for Canada at the Olympics also. Okay, on the men's side, this is where it gets a little trickier. We've got quite a few teams playing well. We've got quite a few teams close in the world rankings. We have the the sort of specter of Brad Gushue looming over it all. Robbie, talk to me about the men's side. How are you feeling going in? Who do you like? Where are we at, man?
I think this is going to be an absolute war on the men's side. I think you are just going to see every team just clawing to try and break through and get to the top. It's a story. Obviously, Dunstone, in my opinion, is the best team right now in Canada playing. But Jacobs, it's not like they're struggling. They just, they lost a semifinal. I think they lost to Dunstone in the semis.
Yeah.
But a very close game, could have went either way. And those guys too in big games, you take Kennedy and Hebert's big game experience. Brad's won the trials before as well. And I think that team, especially if they get momentum early, they're going to be really tough to stop, even for Dunstone. Dunstone, I think they're making the most shots right now, and they're winning a lot of games. They've been in all three finals this year, winning one of them. On the Grand Slam circuit, I should say. But I just hope they can control themselves emotionally at times. It's almost like they're just especially mad, they're a very intense team, and it means a lot to them. And it's good, but sometimes that can almost just get in the way of your clear thought process. And, I'm not trying to sit here as a podcast host and give advice on mental toughness, but
hey, it was very tough for us to get behind the mics this morning.
Yeah. I had to change seats at the table. No, but I just, because I think those are obviously the two front runners right now, but I'm telling you, you cannot count Brad Gushue out. You just can't. He's Brad Gushue. He's not scared of anybody. He's done this before. He's won it twice. He's in his own neck of the woods in Atlantic, Canada. He's going to have a lot of fans, and that team is just due, in my opinion. You can't look at the lineup, Jeff Walker, Brennan Botcher, Mark Nichols, and Brad Gushue, and say, oh, they're underdogs. I'm not saying they're the favorites. Please don't take that out of, context or whatever. But come the end of the week, especially as those lights get brighter and the eyes are all watching, that's when Brad Gushue comes alive, if you will. And I think they're going to be extremely, extremely tough. And then you got some slouches, just like, Team McEwen, and like it's just a stacked field.
Yeah.
Like McEwen's going to be extremely tough. Colton Flash is hot, which he's going to be. It's the trials. They can beat anybody as well. To me, it's a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's going to be a great week. I think obviously the question with Brad Gushue is, can you turn it on? He's 39th in the world year to date, which he probably hasn't been that low on year to date standings in November since like I was in university, and I just turned 40. So that's always the question. It's Brad will tell you that the Olympic trials and the Brier are the only thing that gets him excited anymore, and it's his last year. But it's just like, can you flip the switch? That's the big question. And I think for me, and Robbie, you can see if you agree with me or not, but I think to me, I have tiers. I have 3 tiers going into this. Okay. So I've got on the top tier I've got 3 teams. I've got Dunstone, I've got Jacobs, I've got Epping.
Mhm.
They're 2, 3, and 5 in the world. They're all playing well. Oh, I got a little thumb up reaction. That's nice. If you're watching on YouTube, you would have seen I still have my Apple reactions turned on, so a little thumbs up bubble popped up. Anyway, they're 2, 3, 5 in the world, all playing very well. As you said, Matt Dunstone's made every Slam final. Jacobs and Epping have made all the Slam playoffs. They've gone deep a couple times. They both made semifinals this year as well. So the 3 of them, they have the combination of they're very good teams and they're coming into the trials playing well. So I have them on a top tier. If I was separating them, I would have Jacobs and Dunstone on their own tier, and Epping almost they're like the 1A tier. Epping's just below them on the 1B tier, just because we haven't seen them win the big one. Epping's been very, very good the last 2 years. They've won a bunch of stuff, but haven't been able to figure it out at a Briar or a Slam, not even making a final. So they're 1 tier little below. Then the tier below them, I've got McEwen and Guju. 2 teams not playing their best coming into the trials, but 2 teams that we know can do it. Especially, Mike can get hot. We saw it at the 2017 trials where he almost single-handedly carried his team to the Olympics after all the Broomgate controversy and everything. Obviously, Brad Guju's resume speaks for itself. That, to me, they're like on the next tier of if they won or if they made the final, it wouldn't be shocking, but I'm not expecting it.
Yep.
And then I've got Cooey, McDonald, Kleider as like those 3 are long shots to win. For me, 3 good teams. Kleider not playing especially well coming into this. Hasn't been a great year for them. McDonald's playing well, but they're young. Their time is going to come. I don't think a Danny Casper-like run is in the cards. The field's just too deep, I think, for them to compete. And then, Kevin Cooey, it's been a struggle. This year's been better for them. They're 28th year to date. They've had a little bit better of a year than they had last year. But again, that just still doesn't look like the right mix. Kevin hasn't quite had his fastball in this quad. Again, Kevin could get hot. They could win some games. Same with Jordan. Like, all 3 of those teams, I don't think any of them are an easy out, but I also don't think they're going to make the playoffs. So that's kind of how I have them all ranked. I don't know if you agree with that or if you have anything different.
No, I agree 100%. That's literally how I had them pegged as well. But I just think wild things happen at the trials, and it's fun to have these ideas now.
Yeah.
And the chances of 1 week from today's Tuesday, it could look totally different.
For sure. And the trials there's a long history at the trials of teams making the finals or winning that were not expected to do that. The trials does funny things to people. You literally prepare for 4 years for this moment. It's going to be very, very fascinating to watch in Halifax. Are you ready to give us no predictions other than you think Holman will win on the women's side, but the men's you're not gonna?
I thought you were gonna ask me if I'm planning to drive over.
Oh. No, I already knew you weren't.
My wife's just down the hall with her 4-month-old. I'll let you ask her if I'm going. Yeah, I'll give you predictions.
Okay, give me hit me with predictions before we go.
Okay, I'm going to go Einarson over Black in the semifinal, or in the 2-3 winner, and then Holman the champion in 2 games.
Okay.
I am going to go Jacobs over Dunstone in 3 games in the final on the men's side, with Guju third.
Semifinal. Guju. Okay.
Yeah, that's my official prediction. Wow, Robbie, really taking a risk there on those.
No, I mean, I think anything can happen, but I think you're not far off the mark there. It's going to be very, very fascinating to watch over the course of the next week. We went a little long today, but just too much to discuss. It's Olympic season, so this is how it goes. Thank you so much for sticking with us. If you want to watch a video of this episode and see all of our beautiful facial reactions to each other's conversations, you can head on over to our YouTube. Give us a follow there. You can follow us on any social media channels. Just look up the Broom Brothers, and we'll be back next week with something. I don't know if it'll be an interview or maybe it'll be me and Robbie again talking Olympic trials. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But thank you so much for tuning in. We do really appreciate it, and we will see you back here very soon. Goodbye.